Welcome back. Now, Iran has launched retaliatory strikes across the Middle East, with explosions reported near US bases in a number of different countries. Well, to understand how countries across this region might respond and to get reflections on these events in general, we're joined now by Abdel Moneim Said, who is a senator in the Egyptian Shura Council. He joins us now from Cairo. Thank you very much indeed for joining us, Senator. Can I just start by asking you very simply, what went through your mind on Saturday when you first got news of these joint US-Israeli strikes on Iran?
What came to my mind was, oh my God, I was right because all the signs of war was there. But I was in my heart, I don't want it to happen. I guess always that wars are not only very expensive financially, but it's highly demanding in terms of the region we live in. Any additional war to the wars that already there is really very harmful.
Right. And as you were saying, there was some diplomacy in action. We saw talks in Geneva throughout the course of the last couple of weeks. I mean, what happened to diplomacy?
I don't think it was serious from the beginning. I thought that Iran was put in a corner, that it cannot get away from it. Iran was asked to take off its own militias out and in the same time to reduce, if not to eliminate its missiles, and also to get into the nuclear weapon, in terms of obliteration, because President Trump really said he did it back in June, and now was saying that Iran is seeking one. So here, Iran was really found the value of having a nuclear method or weapon. Therefore, I will say that both sides were getting into that kind of the abyss we are in now. And now we are into it. And what to do about it, that's probably will be one of your questions.
It certainly will be. Now, Gulf countries obviously bearing a lot of the brunt of the Iranian response. How do you see them responding?
I think I am amazed with their moderate response. Today there was a Saudi call on the Iranian ambassador. That happened in the Emirates also, and in all, I think, the capitals of the Gulf states. Nobody told us what they said to the ambassadors, but obviously, the word will be, don't push us to get into the war, because, when they really hit American installations in these countries, they are also hitting its sovereignty. And also because these bases, I don't think it is well armed. I mean, there is no one missile came out of these bases. And previously, all the Gulf states informed the Iranians that we asked the Americans not to use our airspace or our territories as a stage for striking at Iran. Yet Iran now started to hit these areas, which is a sovereign areas for all the Gulf states. Plus, they didn't get hurt from it. There is no one missile came out of any of the bases there. Actually, I'm familiar also with these bases. It's not prepared to make war. It was a kind of a precautionary measure that was taken after the Gulf War, the one of the Gulf Wars before the one for the liberation of Kuwait, in order to allow the United States to get in. And it will get in by the treaties that govern these spaces according to the acceptance of the states, whether it is the Emirates, Saudi Arabia, or Kuwait. Therefore, they are not a kind of a warring kind of bases, say like the ones that we have, the United States got in Japan or in Europe. There is quite a difference between these two sides.
Okay. I mean, do you see any role for example, Egypt, the Arab League in trying to de-escalate the crisis? Or do you think it's still too early to be talking about de-escalation?
No, Egypt is working hard for the de-escalation. And yeah, I don't know about the Arab League. They didn't make any meeting. However, I will say that Egypt is working hard on that, and it's communicating around the clock in the past 24 hours with all the Gulf states. And I guess also the line is open with the US and with Iran. However, the region is extremely complicated at this moment. And why the war started in the first place, and we are in it while there was the Omanis, who are very close to the Egyptians, in terms of that it seems that there was a great opportunity there. And I thought always that the easiest part of the negotiation was the one related to the nuclear issue, because Iran, according to Iranian, since Khomeini was considering this as something, against the Islamic faith, and therefore they will never do it. What they needed was to have the right of making the uranium capable of being a bomb is not the target, but to have the right, because of the non-proliferation treaty give Iran that right, and it wants to be like a member of that club. However, I don't know, why there was a big fuss about Iran while Israel is a full nuclear state. I mean, there is no one questioning that reality that Israel is having it, and Israel is boasting a threat to the entire region. That's on the mouth of the Prime Minister Netanyahu, about reshaping the Middle East, making the Israeli the great Israel dimension, which is coming in the Torah. Therefore, I will say we have our, this kind of complexity in the region doesn't ask for a new one. Therefore, I never understood why the United States did not get along with the mediation that was taken during the past few weeks. And instead of getting into that, the quagmire that we are in now.
What do you think the US calculation was? Why did they go so suddenly from diplomacy, which looked like it was bearing fruit, to military engagement?
I think the United States, ironically, from the man who said, he wants to get the United States out of the Middle East, and mocked President Biden for the way he got out from Afghanistan. Yet, you see it, he's talking about the Monroe Doctrine, getting into Venezuela, even crossing the Atlantic to the Greenland. I guess the major factor that put Netanyahu and Trump together is how to dominate the Middle East. What it seems to them, the big obstacle at this moment was Iran. Iran was out of what you can say, strategic good relationship with the United States, like Egypt, Saudi Arabia, all the countries of the Gulf that Trump gave them his first visit outside the United States in May. And yet Iran was outside of that, and it was still got militias to fight Israel. And Israel doesn't want to, not only to be the only nuclear power in the region, but also that it doesn't like to have anyone competing in that area. And so Trump did that because he wanted to consider the Middle East exactly like Greenland or Canada or any that's part of the American sphere of influence. I can't find anything else because already he signed treaties and agreements about mutual investment. They were talking about something exceeds about $4 trillion. So it is not an economic value, or it is something to it will be can be taken in good faith. It is within a whole kind of dominance, hegemonic kind of tendency that Mr. Trump is trying to achieve.
One of the things that's been said by the Iranian officials in the last 24 hours is that the killing of the Supreme Leader crossed a red line. I mean, it is unprecedented, isn't it, for a sitting head of state to be targeted by a hostile power. Given that it is a red line, what sorts of response might we see? What sort of magnitude of response might we see from the Iranians?
Iranians here, it depends, in my opinion, on what they are agreeing with the Chinese. Because I think Iran won't have get to this without that agreement that was signed with China, in which that Iran will provide China with oil and in exchange will take everything that's sanctioned by the United States. So that gave it a room, and I guess it was not wasted in the past 7 months since the June war. And if Iran now got a kind of missiles, it will use it because they did it with the Arab countries, and I thought that they have a shortage even of missiles. If they are planning to have a war that might be extended for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, they need a large number. But to waste it in non-basis and then to get into the war as the way we're seeing it, and also they didn't do their homework by really repairing their intelligence system that was completely penetrated in May, and now it seems that still penetrated by Israeli and American intelligence to the way that they will kill Khamenei. What the Iranians can do, I am afraid of something, and I think it is my imagination goes to that direction. The Iranians will not do that without having a dirty kind of a bomb. Yeah, scientists who make nuclear bombs tell you that in their dirty case, which means having to get a kind of toxic materials to get into any areas, it might happen. I can't see that kind of confidence that they will retaliate in just a way, I mean, to feel satisfied for their revenge, except something crazy, something toxic, something. It seems the war get countries to do things they don't normally think or talk about. But when you come into crossing that kind of a line, then all hell, as they say in the US, hell breaks loose.
Yeah, and Senator, I mean, just to pick you up on that, when we consider the considerable figures, important figures in the Iranian leadership have been killed in the last 48 hours, I mean, one has to ask who's calling the shots in Iran? And could there be some rogue elements that decide to do something that perhaps the deceased leaders would not have done along the lines of what you've just described?
Well, they already just today changed almost a lot of leadership that was, killed during the first strike, and I really did not review them to know where they are and where their background to give you a sufficient answer for this. But I see that instincts usually prevail over wisdom when you got a situation like this. Here, whoever is now Mr. Pezeshkian, the president of Iran, I guess he is the one who is missing, holding the rein for the moment until all the procedures to have a new guide like Mr. Khamenei to be in his place. Therefore, what they need to do now, or for in terms of their look in front of the Iranians, I mean, to have a kind of revenge. And Mr. Masoud here, the president is really will be in a kind of a corner that I think he will not be able not to do what I was talking about it in kind of an evil kind of a thought.
Okay, well, we're going to have to leave it there because we're out of time, but we really appreciate you speaking to us. Abdel Moneim Said, Senator in the Egyptian Shura Council. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you.